Hello everyone, today we will analyze characters and actions in the digital circus. And before the video starts, subscribe to the channel, like and turn on the notification. And we will begin. Today we will start with Kofmo and Ragatha. Ragatha gets hurt by Kofmo, which is not a coincidence. As mentioned, Ragatha is a person who was hurt previously. Whatever happened to her is also a statistic, but not the kind that usually leads to death, hence her becoming only partially abstracted. Pomni avoids contact with her at that moment, because Pomni still has the same mindset as Kofmo had pre-abstraction. She is looking for a way to live freely without having to deal with other people and the stress which they bring into her life. And so, she runs away, literally and metaphorically, trying to avoid the troubles of the world surrounding her and the stress of dealing with troubled people, while also trying to run away from her own new way of life, the digital circus, at the same time. After a brief interruption, the scene continues, where Ragatha says that Kane can cure her. The meaning behind this interaction is that the internet makes personal tragedies visible, preventing said tragedies from becoming a statistic. But notice that, near the end of the episode, Kane almost forgets about her, which is a reminder that the digital workplace is still rife with abuse due to the human factor. And not every transgression on one's rights and dignity ends up becoming public or being properly processed by a higher authority. Pomni becomes slightly abstracted just by coming into contact with Ragatha when she is hurt, which continues Pomni's characterization as a person who is easily stressed by people. As she searches for the ringmaster, tries to bring attention to Ragatha's issue, she finds various bizarre places, which represent various corners of the internet and various reactions which one can receive when trying to bring attention to themselves or to some issues. After running away, hiding, and fruitlessly looking for attention for a period of time, a logical opportunity to come back to the non-digital world presents itself. That is, Pomni considers quitting and getting a corporate job. This sequence serves the purpose of showing us what Pomni ran away from and why she ended up becoming an internet entertainer. She traverses a dimly lit, bleak, and lifeless office space, getting frustrated and lost within its labyrinthine corridors, which give off the feeling of a painfully artificial space that is not meant for humans. Eventually, she sees a typical office workplace that horrifies her to the core and once again forces her to return to the digital world, away from the drab and bleak desk job where the management gives her the absolute bare minimum or less to perform her work, as shown by the extremely cheap, outdated, and decrepit-looking computer on her table. But before returning, she observes the outdoor world, which leaves her no less confused and terrified, but not because of its inhospitality, but rather because of the endless vastness of it, with infinite stories, opportunities, and outcomes appearing and passing every second. This reaction from Pomni also can be interpreted as the fear of the life beyond working. Assuming she does become famous and she does make it big, what then? It could be that she is lost in thought because of that. This interpretation also might help explain why Kane later says that he did not finish the void. At the same time, another scene is unfolding, which reveals that there is a ravenous monster living at the foundation of the circus. It consumes everything and transforms it into more thieving, malicious gloinks. Judging by its own words, we can see that it does not see anything that is not a gloink as worthy of existence. It also desires to consume everything in order to make everyone into gloinks and every aspect of life into something related to gloinks. It also looks like a giant mouth with eyes, once again signifying desire. This gloink queen is an embodiment of greed. At the foundation of entrepreneurship is the desire to make it big. This is true for internet celebrities as well. So it makes sense for the digital circus to have greed at its foundation. Its all-consuming tendencies are like those of capitalist corporations, which seek to monetize everything and anything. Everything must be gloinks. There is even a saying among businessmen: if it's not advertised, it doesn't exist, meaning that anything that does not fit into the market is beneath them. Therefore, they try to monetize everything: themselves, other people, time, religion, life-saving medicine, and even anti-capitalist sentiment. The gloinks, representations of human malice and thievery, are produced by this embodiment of greed because capitalism twists human behavior and human relationships to serve itself and its propagation in the world. Everything from human tendency to work and be productive to art, love, and even family eventually becomes twisted into something self-serving and greedy that is only allowed to exist, in so much as what remains of it generates profit. For example, corporate comic artists are forced to endlessly produce more and more stories and characters that serve little to no other purpose than becoming products to be sold, instead of occasionally releasing genuine and expressive pieces of art. These comics might in turn produce endless live-action iterations, which are mass-produced, like on a factory line, until the audience is ready to puke from seeing the same soulless thing again. Also, note the jab at Marvel and DC at the end of that dialogue. Yet, you're still watching it. The same type of argument is also repeated by game developer studios such as Bethesda. But people are still buying our games, even though it has been over a decade since they released a game that wasn't a buggy mess, because the all-encompassing greed makes their management make decisions in favor of personal gain and against the common good, providing a quality product. The dialogue between the Queen and Jax is interrupted by Kaufmo. He viciously attacks the glowing Queen, giving other characters the chance to escape. It is quite fitting that the character who was pushed over the edge by the lack of money and the inhuman necessity to toil his life away for someone else's benefit is beating the soul out of the embodiment of greed that seeks to make everything personal, profit-driven. The characters gather in one place and see Kane dropping abstracted Kaufmo into some sort of a cellar, which appears to be filled with creatures who met the same fate. This means two things. First, there is a special place that was prepared in advance for the containment and utilization of Kaufmo. And second, this is more or less a normal occurrence which sometimes happens. This kind of place reminds me of privately owned prisons and their connection to crime, or mental health institutions which are used to silence people who were disenfranchised by large corporations. And finally, the episode ends with a symbolic meal, during which Pomni looks like she is losing her mind. Bubble quips about filling the food with all the love he is legally allowed to give, which is once again a reminder about him being a complete sellout and a suck-up to both the audience and the online platforms. The words Kinger says are important. He explains that they don't need to worry about hunger in the digital circus, but the food they eat gives them a filling sensation without being nutritious. Food, of course, is the simplest example of sustenance. So what is actually said in this scene is that working as a clown, artist, etc. on the internet puts the food on the table and gives you a roof over your head, it pays the bills. But that is pretty much it in most cases. You are most likely not going to grow financially in any way that is significantly different from working a normal job. As Pomni looks at the result of her work on the internet, it put food on the table, a realization hits her like a tidal wave, making her almost go mad with the revelation. Since she just recently came back from a corporate environment, it helps her draw comparisons with her current situation. She realizes that there is indeed no exit. What she ran away from is still present on the internet. She still has to work in a confusing environment while her future is uncertain. She still has to interact with people who are mean, distant, aggressive, thieving, depressed, annoying, fake, unfunny, weird, traumatized, unstable, etc. She still has to exert a lot of control over how she acts, looks, and speaks in order to just function, wearing the Harlequin mask on the internet, and being a good employee on a normal job. The place